And now some perspective from two people who lost friends in this tragedy and are intimately familiar with the Titanic. Oceanographer Robert Ballard located the wreckage back in 1985 in his own remotely operated underwater vehicle. And director James Cameron, who, in addition to his Oscar-winning movie Titanic, he's made numerous submersible dives to some of the deepest parts of the ocean. I spoke with both Nat Geo explorers a short time ago. And Bob, let's go ahead and start with you, because officials now calling this a catastrophic implosion. And I understand this was something you feared even before we heard this news today.
Well, I tragically have been to other locations with the loss of our nuclear submarine Thresher and our nuclear submarine Scorpion that suffered catastrophic implosions. And if you can take the giant submarines I was exploring and see how they were turned into amazing number of shredded parts, you cannot believe the power of this process.
And James, you were also well aware of some of the complaints and safety concerns about this vehicle before this event happened. What struck you about what you heard from officials today?
Well, I wasn't surprised by anything they said. The two data points I got was that they lost comms and they lost tracking simultaneously. And there was only really one explanation for that. And then through the grapevine, it turned out that there were a number of different, hydrophone systems that had picked up a loud bang at the same time. And I knew what had happened. And you're right, I did have misgivings about that design. I had misgivings about prior designs that used carbon fiber cylinders with titanium end caps for exactly the same set of engineering reasons. I didn't believe in them. I certainly believe in the principle of certification for any sub that's going to take passengers. I believe there is a place for true exploration at the cutting edge of engineering, but it's got no place when you're taking paying passengers to a known site like Titanic.
And Bob, you knew some of the people on board this vessel and those associated with this sub. How does this tragedy impact you personally and the community of explorers you're a part of?
Well, I've known Stockton Rush since he was very young. I met through his father, actually, I would say 20 years ago. And I remember him seeking me out at various times about his dream to go down to the Titanic. And obviously, he was following his dream, and it led to a nightmare.
Exploration is always risky. Climbing a mountain is risky, and people will take those chances. But I think you mitigate that risk as assiduously as possible with every fiber of your being. And you engineer against it to the extent humanly possible. And for me personally, that's part of the attraction.
Bob, you once said visiting the Titanic is like dancing on someone's grave. What's it like down there?
Well, it's the deep sea is an amazing place. But what's really amazing about it is you can't see very far. And I can remember when we came in on the Titanic for the first time, it was less than 30, 40 feet away. We came in a beam of the bridge, and it was like a giant wall of steel. So it's very intimate in that regard, but it's very unforgiving. You can't see pressure.
The first time I went there, I felt like I'm going to the most remote place on the planet. And what I realized, as a result of this terrible tragedy in which, my friend P.H. Nargeolet also lost his life, because it's a very small circle. So this is inexcusable. This whole thing is inexcusable. It's a tragedy.
James, your blockbuster film renewed public interest in the Titanic. I wonder how this strikes you now to see a second tragedy at that very same site.
I'm struck by the fact that somehow, individuals, companies have managed to miss the lesson of Titanic itself. What was Titanic saying to us over all these years, whether it's in my films or the many documentaries and so on, which is heed the warnings. Don't be arrogant. Don't think you're smarter than nature, and those were the warnings of Titanic. Now we have two wreck sites adjacent to each other that both represent, in my mind, recklessness.
Bob, do there need to be changes in safety for any of these vehicles that go down to whether it's this wreckage site or others across our oceans?
We haven't had a single fatality of a deep submersible vehicle across many countries, the different countries that have built them, if they followed and were certified. So no, I think we have it in place. It's a question of what are you going to do in this case? This will definitely. I remember the sinking of the Titanic led to the International Ice Patrol. It led to the fact that you had a radio operator 24 hours a day. All sorts of things came out of the loss of the Titanic that made it safer and safer. And I'm sure we're going to see new things coming out of this tragic event so that these people did not die in vain.
Well, Bob and James, again, we truly appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you so much for your insights. Our coverage of this horrific tragedy tonight.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.